Welcome to Morning Infusion with Dr. V. Have you ever wondered what it would be like to be pregnant in nursing school? I struggle with being pregnant, period. Anyway, my name is Dr. Viola Pierce. I'm the CEO and the owner of VP Nursing and the Nurse Nurturer, and the facilitators of Secret Suppers Worldwide with Dr. V, where our goal is to teach nurses to leverage the knowledge that they already know, working from their computers around the world, creating generational wealth and owning their own time. Our goal is to come to you each Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 7:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, although we're here at 7 o'clock this morning because we've got things to do, to give you the fuel to crush your goals, to show up exceptional on a daily basis. Know that one of the goals of Morning Infusion with Dr. V is to expose you to leaders that have overcome so that you know that the possibilities are endless. You can follow us on Twitter at the Nurse Nurturer, Instagram at VP Nursing. If you are watching on YouTube, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and please share this video. And if you are not on YouTube, go to YouTube and hit the subscribe button. We have a group called the Nurse Nurturer on Facebook that you can join to receive uplifting content for healthcare professionals. Visit us at our website at www.vpnursing.com and remember to hit the calendar link above if you want to create another stream of income and enroll in our 12-week course, VP Nursing Business Academy. Our special guest today is Dr. Susan Elliott. Let me tell you a little bit about Dr. Susan Elliott. She came from very humble beginnings in a two-parent Christian home. She graduated from high school in 2000 and went on to attend college that fall. Despite getting pregnant her sophomore year of college, she persevered and graduated with her bachelor's in science nursing degree from North Carolina A&T State University, which she says she's representing today with her cup and her colors on. And then she immediately entered the workforce to be able to care for her son. Dr. Elliott worked as a clinical nurse in acute care and critical care after graduating. She would be the first person in her family not only to obtain a college degree, but an advanced degree. She graduated in May of 2020 with her Doctor of Nursing practice as an adult gerontological primary care nurse practitioner. Say that about 10 times straight. What was your primary reasoning for becoming a nurse?
I've always wanted to care for, by the way, good morning first.
Good morning.
I've always wanted to care for people. My grandmother was a nurse in a way. She cared for many people in their home. She was a housekeeper. She cared for the sick. And I always admired what she done. Originally, I wanted to be a lawyer because I wanted to wear a suit every day. I thought it would be really cute. But then I kind of got to thinking about it. And I was like, that's a lot of school and that's a lot of law. So what else can I do to be a productive citizen and still make a decent income and then provide care for others? Why not be a nurse? And so that's truly how I became a nurse. It really kind of started from things my grandmother did. And then I was like, I want to be able to sustain a lifestyle and still be a productive citizen, honestly. And nursing was what came to mind.
It's super funny that you said that you don't want all that schooling and then you got all that schooling.
You're exactly right. I've probably done enough schooling to actually be a physician at this point. As a nurse, and as you know, Dr. Pierce, as a nurse, education never ends. It's an ongoing thing. We're always learning something new. Medications are always changing, treatment modalities, best care practices are always changing. So even if you're not pursuing an advanced degree, you're still learning every day.
So you might as well pursue the advanced degree, right?
You might as well.
You might as well and get that terminal degree for sure. So now when you first talked, you said that you got pregnant while in nursing school. How did you feel when you first received the news that you were pregnant?
Fearful. Fearful. As you mentioned in my bio, I am the first person in my family to go to college. And the first thing I thought of was, am I going to be a disappointment to my family? Here I was 19 years old, going off to school, and now I'm pregnant. Like, how do I tell my parents? I'm the baby of 3 girls. So how do you go to your parents and tell them they have sent you off to education and now I'm back here with a baby? And so I was very scared, but my parents were amazing, just very very supportive. Uh, my father, his response to me was literally his first response to me was, "You're not quitting school. That's not an option." And so when my son came, the faculty at A&T were wonderful in the nursing program. They set me up so, I could stay home the first few months with him and come back the next semester. My family took over my son for the first 2 years so I could finish nursing school. I worked while I was in nursing school, and every other weekend I would go home to be a mom to my son. But in the meantime, my parents kept him because they wanted my focus to be school so that I would be able to finish and obtain my degree.
I love that because what happens is, many times, especially with, in households where you have sometimes, and I'm not saying this all the time, but when you have those high expectations or whenever you have that rigid, almost religious type of environment, what happens is, people don't accept that, right? Because it's one of those things that is taboo, right? And you don't want to do that. But what they've shown you, and I talked with one of my friends about this the other day, what they showed you is by pure example, they showed you that that love, that no matter what, no matter how, I'm going to love you, because we all make mistakes, right? And I'm not saying that your son is a mistake, but, as far as your intent, I'm sure was not to get pregnant in nursing school, right?
Oh, yeah, no, that was not my intent. No, man.
And so,
honestly, my intent was to go to A&T and enjoy all that it had to offer from what I had been told. So that was my intent, and I still did, but very limitedly. But no, that was not it was a shock to me and his father when we realized we're having a baby, and his father was military at the time, so he didn't even live here.
oh, wow. Wow. Yeah. And so when you, by example, and I say this all the time, that parents, giving their children grace, right? Because we come in and we try to look perfect, but the reality is that we're not perfect and they
No.
aren't either. And that if we can give them the grace, and the thing about it is that when we give them grace, then they start showing it to their children. It's sort of like you pass down generational curses, or you pass down generational, nuggets, advice, and greatness. It's one of the two. And so you want to be able to, because, I like my children, but I like my grandchildren much more. And so I want them to get. I mean,
it's kind of like being the auntie. Come over, let me love you and spoil you, then go on back home to your mom and daddy. Yes, yes.
So what are some of the challenges that you faced as a result of being pregnant?
Well, I was limited in the activities I was able to participate in on campus. And we all know, college life is fun. But when you're pregnant, you can't do everything everyone else is doing. Also, the summer after my sophomore year, I took a microbiology class so I would not fall behind. So I literally drove from Anger to Greensboro every day for the summer to take microbiology in a microbiology lab so I would not fall too far behind in nursing school. And I did it in a very old, beat up, an 88 Toyota Corolla FX, little hatchback we used to call her Betsy. That little car, it was a blessing. It was a gift from my father for my birthday. And it was nothing special, but I made it work. The AC half worked, but I struggled, and I went to class every day that summer, pregnant, to be successful. And
now, for those across the country, tell them the distance between Anger and Greensboro.
It's about a 2-hour drive. So that was every day, 2 hours to Greensboro and 2 hours back. And the professor at the time, which I think he's passed on now, God rest his soul, he told me, he was like, "You will not be successful in this course." And I said, "Excuse me?" My mother was heated, like, "My daughter will not what?" "Oh, okay, we're going to show you." And needless to say, I finished the course with the A, but I was like, "You're not going to tell me that I am going to be successful." And I made that drive every day.
I love it. I love it. And people don't realize that their words are so harmful. They
Yes.
just, I just don't understand that. I don't understand not pouring into you as a individual. So now, when we talked, you talked about your father. Now, tell us about your relationship with your father.
I'm a daddy's girl.
Oh,
Like I said, I'm the youngest of three. When my parents tried for me, they were actually trying for a boy. Um, and that is not what they got. However, my dad and I were always really close. We talked about everything. I could go to him with anything. He was, and it's funny because you're the nurse nurturer. He was very much a nurturer up until he took his sick bed, and he would always call to check on me. He was a handyman, so he taught us to be handy and self-sufficient. So if I would fix things around my house, he would kind of show up and be like, "Oh, I just wanted to see what you did today." I'm like, "Are you checking up on me, or you really want to see what I did?" And so I think it was a little bit of both, but it didn't matter because he was my dad. He could come over at any time he wanted to. So we had a really good relationship, and that was a part of a lot of my motivation once he passed on and I was in my graduate program. Like, you can't stop because he would not want you to stop. He only had a ninth grade education, but he did a lot of reading to educate himself. And so I'm like, your father, and even, my professors were really nice. My friends were great, a great support system. And everybody would say the same thing. Like, if your father was alive, he would push you to continue on. And so, yeah, he was very much a motivator, a very gentle and loving man. I mean, I miss him so much. He's like the greatest thing in my life next to my son, honestly.
I love it. I love it. Now, he passed away in 2016. Now, what
Correct.
happened, and what happened to him, and how were you able to overcome that season in your life?
He was diagnosed with colon cancer actually on Thanksgiving in 2015. Um,
Oh,
so he battled that for a year. We had to have those conversations, which you have with patients at work. So it was different when it kind of took on a tone like, this is your family, this is your situation. You have to have those conversations of what are you going to do if the treatments don't work. Um, so we had those conversations and talked about how we would handle the situation when time came that he wanted to stop those treatments, that they were no longer being productive or successful. Oh, girl, I forgot the question. I'm gonna be honest with you.
how did you overcome that season of your life? You are so funny.
Lots and lots of prayer and lots of support, family support. We really came together as one. Friends that are pretty much like family. They were very supportive. They called, they checked on us. I've even had some professors from East Carolina send cards just to say, hang in there. It's a tough time. It's a tough season, but you can do this. And so it was the love and support of friends and family that really keep you going and keep you in there and push you to go ahead. My son is always a charging force in my life. Even when you feel like you want to quit and give up, it's always like, you have to keep going for him if you don't keep going for anybody else.
And that's the truth. My children, I joke about the fact that I love my grandchildren more than I love my children, but the reality is that my children definitely are the driving force.
Mhm.
I feel like we have to pave the way for them. We
Mhm.
have to be the ones that are going, showing them how it is done, right? And
Right.
so I completely understand that. And my mom this past year, she actually had COVID. And
Oh.
we were at the beach, and I remember walking down the beach and having a conversation with the physician, because when I left, she had it. She was admitted to the hospital, but she was good, right?
Mhm.
She went into AFib with RVR, and then she ended up being good. And then after a while, they called me and said that she wasn't responding. She wasn't, and I had to have that conversation over the phone. And I remember walking down the beach, and I remember having that conversation. I remember just crying and
Mhm.
just being just like, this is so different. being
Yeah,
on the other side of it, like you said, right?
it is.
It's a different conversation. It's a different way of looking at things. And, I had to talk myself through it. And, of course, we don't want me to start crying, but she, because I cry
We'll be
ugly.
on here 2 water buckets together.
But of course, she made it through that season of her life. And I mean, and the thing about it is that my mom has been on these medications like forever. And so they stopped all her medicines. And
Oh
now
wow.
she's sprayer. I mean, she is like, she's talking, she's doing her own. I mean, she's better than what she was before. And I was like, okay,
That
okay.
setback just set her up for a comeback. That's all that was. That's all that was.
TD Jakesism right there. So now you recently obtained your DNP. What are some of the challenges that you faced in the job search after obtaining this prestigious degree?
Finding one. That is the struggle is real. And it's not just myself. There are students in my cohort. There are nurses that I am working with at the hospital who have obtained their degrees and are having the darndest time finding a job. And many other advanced care providers have been so encouraging, saying, it's COVID. Many organizations are not hiring at the moment, or limited hiring. I am finding that a lot of places want you to go ahead and have experience, and it's like, well, you can't have experience if somebody doesn't give you a chance to get that experience. So just kind of breaking into the industry to get the experience needed to open those doors and kind of move forward in I will say, in progressing my career path. Also looking into kind of branch out a little bit. I would love to be a primary care nurse practitioner, but I'm also open to seeing what else is out there, working in clinical research in the pharmaceutical industry. There's so many things that you could do with one degree, and I would love to explore those options.
I love it. I love it. And we talked about before we came on camera about being very intentional about creating another stream of income. That's
Yeah.
huge. I've worked for 27 years and I thought that, because I made more money than my parents made, then I thought that I would be good. But the reality is that, unless you create those multiple streams of income, then you won't retire and be as comfortable as you would like. Because I've been pretty diligent about, contributing to my 401k. I've
Mhm.
been very diligent about that, right? And still, um, I still won't be able to retire as comfortable as I would like. So I'm very intentional about that. Now,
And when you say about the money, as far as making the money more than the money that your parents made, if you think about it, the money that we make now, if we were living in the times that our parents were living in, we really would have been okay, more than likely. But because the cost of living is steadily increasing, it's not gonna work that way. You're gonna have to have that second stream of income to be comfortable in retirement. Especially many of us in the African American community, sadly, we're not educated about preparing for retirement because many of our parents, they weren't prepared. So how can you teach someone else something that you don't know yourself? So learning and trying to build that generational wealth for your children to start a legacy and build something that you were not privy to yourself. It's a challenge. It can be done, but it is challenging.
and I think that sometimes, and not that because I'm not a conspiracy theorist for sure, but I think that sometimes, because when I ask people, I say, well, how much do I need to retire?
Mhm.
Until I got with my current financial counselor, I mean, literally, he broke it down to me. He was like, this is how much you need. Before now, I had no idea. I was like, how much do I need in order to make? And he was like, you're
Mhm.
not on the trajectory that you need to be on. And so he advised that I, create that second stream of income. And I was like, okay, I got you. And
I
so
think
that's
for
what
a
we
long
do.
time, many people banked on Social Security being able to take care of them. But I mean, in my age bracket, who knows if Social Security will even exist? And even from the patients that we see now, that they'll tell you those Social Security checks are not enough to sustain them in retirement. So it's like, well, what do you do?
And not only that, it catches you in that catch-22 situation, right? So, for example, my mom, we're not able to care for her at home at this point, which we
Mhm.
will be, but we're not able to care for her at home because she's in a catch-22 situation where she's not able to receive like the care from Medicaid, but then she doesn't make enough from her check to be able to care for her. So that's a catch-22 situation, and we can't get out of that, right? And so you want to be able to move forward, and it's just I mean, the amount of money that she makes is unreal. It is ridiculous. And it's like you have to have, I don't know, maybe $1,000 a month in order to be able to afford it, or able to be able to qualify for Medicaid.
Yes,
$1,000.
yes,
I
I
mean,
think that's something like that. Like, yeah.
mm-hmm. $1,000 a month, and $1,000 a month is nothing, right? I mean,
Not
I
for an
mean,
adult. These children spend $1,000 a month on campus.
exactly, exactly. So, I mean, that's ridiculous. So, anyway, I mean, I could go on that for days and days on end. Now, who is someone that has impacted your career, and why were they so impactful?
Um, if I had to choose one person, my best friend's aunt, which I call her Aunt Marlene because we've been friends for so long. Her family is my family. When I first decided to go back and pursue an advanced degree, because I originally wanted to go to anesthesia school, but life circumstances kind of changed that plan. And the good, you want to make Jesus laugh, tell him your plans, right? So those plans were changed. But in undergrad, my grades kind of suffered because I worked full time night shift while also going to nursing school full time to be able to support my child. Um, but one day she told me, she was like, "Who's your daddy?" And I was like, "Excuse me, you know my daddy. What do you mean, who's your daddy?" And she was like, "Who's your daddy?" She was like, "What God do you serve?" She was like, just because your grades were low in undergrad does not mean you cannot be successful and go on to pursue what you want to do. And she was just very encouraging the whole time throughout nursing school. I would see her at church. If I didn't see her at church, we actually work at the same organization. So I might see her in passing, or she would often send an encouraging word from my best friend, like, just tell her, hang in there. She can do it. Don't give up, because her story is kind of the same. Her undergrad grades weren't that great, but she persevered, went back, and she has her master's degree, and she's a neonatal nurse practitioner. So she's like, you do not give up, you continue to go on. And so she was very encouraging to talk to someone who had kind of had the same path, in a sense of, you kind of didn't have the grades to meet the mark to be considered acceptable into the program, but you could do it. So she was very, very encouraging and influential. And she even wrote me a recommendation to get me into the program.
I love it. I love it. And she didn't tell you that you would not be successful, right? She
Right.
told you that you would make it. And so, I love when people pour into other people, because who you are is who you attract, period. And so
Exactly.
she will attract greatness all of her life. So thank you, Miss Marlene, Aunt Marlene. Um, what is one characteristic that you believe every leader should possess?
Flexibility. You have to be able to be flexible. People come from different backgrounds. People have different lifestyles, and you have to be able to be flexibilities with others as well as yourself. Things don't always go the way we planned them. How many times have you planned for something to go? I mean, even dinner. You may have planned, like, we're going to have chicken Alfredo tonight. As soon as you get to the grocery store, there is no Alfredo sauce, and you don't have the time to make it from scratch today. I don't have time to be sauteing butter and garlic. I don't have time today. I need some jar Alfredo sauce. So then now you've got to think on the fly and be like, well, that's what we were going to have. What we're going to have next. You have to be flexible and be willing to change and work with people in a leadership role, because it's not going to always go like you go, and everybody's not going to function in the same way you function. So that flexibility is key.
I love it. I love it. It's funny that you say that because, I went in the grocery store one day and I wanted to make this cauliflower pizza. And apparently I didn't know. Okay. Apparently it was the 15th of the month.
Uh,
And
uh,
so I rolled in there and I was like, oh, well, let's go do this. And it was not It was not pretty.
It wasn't happening.
And so literally the line was like wrapped around like almost the produce area. And I was like, we're not going to do this today. I was
And
like,
you had to be flexible and figure out, well, what cauliflower pizza is not going to be it today. Not
that's
today.
exactly right. And I think that we have to, that's a very valuable lesson in the fact that your goal is set, but how you get to said goal, you have to be able to flex it. You have to be able to turn. You have to be able to master those turns, because what happens is we get stuck in that minutia of, I want it to get there this way. This is the way that I want it to get there. Now I just want to make a lot of money, right? And so whatever way you get there, I want to make a lot of money. I want to work from my computer all the way around the world. However I get there, it's none of my business. Okay. The how is none of my business. All right. Yeah. All I need to do is take one step at a time, one step. Right. Yeah. And so that is so true. Now, how do you define wealth?
Wealth includes a lot of things besides financial stability. Wealth includes being healthy. Wealth includes not just, I have a sustainable income for the next 2 weeks. Wealth means I can take my family on vacation without having to work 5 extra shifts and having to worry about, are we going to be able to have groceries when we get back home? Wealth is being able to, if a family member gets sick, you're able to step in some shape, form, or fashion, not even to pay their bills, but to be able to lend a helping hand.
That's right.
So when I think of wealth, I don't think of, commas and dollar signs. I think of wealth as in a holistic manner. It incorporates many things besides just financial stability. Like, are you healthy? Are you physically and mentally healthy? If you have $10 million in the bank, but mentally you're not in a place that you can, 1, manage those funds, 2, enjoy what you've worked so hard to obtain, that's not wealth. You just have money in the bank.
Mm-hmm. I mean, how many people who are, super, super wealthy that have committed suicide, right?
Exactly. Money don't make you happy.
It sure does not. But
if the Lord want to bless me to win this $200 million lottery, that's a good start. I'm not not.
Now, if you could live your ideal life, what would that look like?
Ooh, that's a good question. I won't say I'm living my ideal life now, because that would be a complete and total lie. And I'm one person who, if I can't do anything else in this life, I can be honest, because honesty is free. So my ideal life would probably be because my son is a freshman at A&T this year, my ideal life would be, 1, to ensure he does not have any student loan debt. Honestly, that's a hard thing to get out of. And I'm kind of busting my butt right now to make sure that he does not incur a lot of student loan debt, to just be happy and healthy, and to be able to have that flexibility of work-life balance. It's very important. We care for the sick in some capacity. We work in healthcare. Healthcare is straining mentally and physically. So to be able to be employed in a manner that I am still able to serve the public, but also have a good work-life balance, that would be my ideal life right now. I'm not looking to, I would love to make millions of dollars, but I just want to be comfortable, be happy, and be healthy, honestly. And I know it sounds very cliche, but the older I get, I have learned some of the things that you worry about and want are not that important. Having a brand new car every other year, I don't care about that anymore. Going to the hair salon and nail salon every 2 weeks, those things take a back seat. You like, girl, I'm ready to get some new throw pillows on my couch. That's the stuff that you just learn to prioritize things. And so, if I can be honest, if I can be happy and healthy, and my child is happy and healthy, and we are financially in a place where we're not struggling, that would be my ideal life, honestly.
It's funny that you said that, because this morning I was watching a Grant Cardone video, and he was talking about don't spend your money on stupid stuff. He said, and so he went and he bought a Rolls Royce, and he was like sitting in the Rolls Royce. He was like, until I doubled or tripled my income, he said, that's when I started buying stupid stuff. He said, but at this point, don't put your money on stupid stuff. You know, he was like, so that you can have this skylight look about. She was like, that's ridiculous.
Champagne wishes or beer incomes. We see it all the time.
All
Like,
the time.
baby, you're just not there yet. Like you got on a $200 t-shirt, but you got $10 in your pocket to make it to next Thursday. That's kind of foolish, don't you think?
Foolish.
So,
But so it has been a pleasure. I love talking to you, Dr. Elliott.
the pleasure has been mine.
We have so much fun together. My name is Dr. Viola Pierce. I'm the owner and the CEO of VP Nursing and the Nurse Nurturer and the facilitators of Secret Suppers Worldwide with Dr. V, where our goal is to teach nurses to leverage the knowledge that they already know working from their computers around the world, creating generational wealth and owning their own time. Our goal is to come to you each Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 7:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, although we came a little early today, to give you the fuel to crush your goals and to show up exceptional on a daily basis. Know that one of the goals of Morning Infusion with Dr. V is to expose you to leaders such as Dr. Elliott that have overcome, so that you know that the possibilities are endless. You can follow us on Twitter at The Nurse Nurturer, Instagram at VP Nurse, and if you are watching on YouTube, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. And if you ain't on YouTube, go hit the subscribe button. We have a group called The Nurse Nurturer on Facebook that you can join to receive uplifting content from healthcare professionals, and some of the stuff is kind of funny too. And you can visit us at our website at vpnursing.com. Remember to hit the calendar link if you want to create another stream of income and enroll in our 12-week course, VP Nursing Business Academy.